Okay, how's it going? I have got some Totara seedlings here, New Zealand's native podocarp. Probably one of the most common native trees in New Zealand, pretty much grow from end to end, top to south. One I'm quite fond of. I've planted lots of these. Haven't really grown many from seed. Normally I just, got a seedling there, normally I just transplant wildlings that I find. They tend to pop up everywhere if you've got seed source nearby, so generally haven't really tried growing them myself from seed, and they're quite slow. So in the past I've just potted up wild seedlings and done it that way, but I thought this year I'll try and grow a few more and see how I get on with seed. So turns out they're really easy. So I've got some here in front of me. These I planted in July, I think, or August. So very, very end of New Zealand winter. So don't really need certification. You can just put them in winter or spring. Doesn't really seem to matter. And they pretty much come up in spring. They don't really come up as early as a lot of other things, so I planted a lot of eucalypts and other bits and pieces. They all come up a lot earlier. These were probably a month behind everything else I planted in spring, so give them a chance. These ones, I'd sort of given up on them, and then they all basically started coming up at once, and pretty easy to tell when they start coming up from the weeds. They're pretty classic conifer. Try and see if there's any little ones in there. I think most of these have got a few leaves on them now, but when they first pop up, they just basically, the leaves are all attached, 3 or 4 leaves are all attached, and then they sort of spread open. So pretty easy to tell, and you can see some of these are getting a bit of size on now. That one there's probably, I don't know, 5 centimeters tall, so not growing super fast. You know, I've got eucalypts I planted in spring that are now probably, God, will be going on for 20 or 30 centimetres. These are pretty slow. So I don't expect these to get hugely bigger over the course of summer. And to be honest, I've kept them in a little bit of shade, so they probably could be growing faster in full sun, not really sure. I've kept them in partial shade. That seems to be what they like in the wild. They tend to germinate under scrubby manuka and gorse and so forth, and grow quite slowly. So I'm kind of simulating that environment, just keeping them a bit of partial shade, but these look pretty healthy, nice and bright green. So have a look at the seeds. So collecting seeds, you can either buy some seeds, get given some seeds like I did. These ones I got given. Collect your own. Pretty easy to collect. You just have to remember there's separate male and female trees, so make sure you're looking at a male. I mean, not a male, a female, sorry. A male's pretty easy to identify. They've got cones, and I will put some up on the screen so you can have a look at the male. So that's what you want to avoid. And then the female, put some up on the screen, have the berries with the seeds attached. So you have a look at the picture I've got up there now, you'll see that the berry, there's a berry, a red berry, so you can tell when they're ripe. Basically the berries go red, really easy to spot, they're quite big. Birds eat them and obviously distribute them, and the seed is attached to the berry. So the seed is green, and it pretty much stays green even when it's ripe, so you don't need to wait for them to go brown. Even these ones I've been given, I took them out. So someone's collected them and obviously collected all of the associated leaves, and someone's just picked branches by the looks of it. So let's have a look. So yeah, so the seeds are these little round things, but these are green when you pick them, and they'll have a little berry attached, which you can eat. They're eatable and they're sweet. Oh, there's one there with the berry still attached. Let's have a look. Oh, it's actually a berry with 2 seeds. So when the berry dries out, that's what it'll look like. So you can still plant that. I'll grow those 2 green bits of the seeds. So these are drying out now, but they're still green. So you can see that compared edge of my fingernail. They're quite big, a couple of millimeters across. So yeah, if you find a good female tree that's bearing heavily, you can pick plenty of seeds in no time. They are a bit patchy with their bearing. I think they're one of those, like a lot of New Zealand natives, that has good years and then lean years. So yeah, I've seen some that are pretty patchy. So that's the seeds. So these are the actual seeds that I planted that are growing here. So what I've been doing is just potting these up. They're pretty easy to transplant when they're small. I just have a little piece of, you can use anything really, ice block stick or piece of wire, or I just use an odd piece of wood and I just stick it down beside them to loosen the soil really. And once you've got the soil loose, you can pretty much just pull them out by the leaves, like so, easy as that. And you can see when they're that size, they pretty much come out with their taproot pretty much intact. And it's not really branching much. Although they're really easy to transplant, so I've been transplanting them like that, and pretty much 100% success. Dead easy to transplant when they're small. So I've just been potting them up into bags like this one here, PB3, so that's roughly a 2-litre polythene bag. This one here, not actually a seedling, this is one that I've just transplanted from the wild, but that's an example of what you'll end up with after, I don't know, I'd say that one's roughly 3 years old. They're pretty slow, but you can see that one's putting out new growth now. That at the top there, that green is all new growth. So we're now in December here, so we're sort of a third of the way through summer, I guess. And yeah, I'll show you, these are just starting to, there you go, see those tips? Just starting to put out new growth. So they're sort of patchy growers, these things. I don't know what the secret is to keep them growing fast all summer, but I've put a bit of nitrogen in there, so it's greened up a bit. But still not super fast. I think you just have to be patient with them. So I think with these, I'll transplant some. I'd expect them to get to sort of, probably like Pinus radiata, they'll probably get to about 10-15 centimetres maybe by the end of this growing season, and then following year maybe 30 centimetres if you're lucky, and I'd probably transplant them even the year after that, so I'll probably let them go 3 years and get to this sort of size. This would be closer to 50 centimetres. Starting to get a bit of a trunk on it. So yeah, so you won't know what you've got. You don't know whether you've got a male or a female until they get a bit older, and they tend to grow a little bit. They can get a lot of weird and wonderful branches coming out at all angles, so you sort of got to nip a few buds to keep them going straight, I find. But if you do that, or if you stake them and tie them up, they're not too bad.